Oh, hey there, guys. So here we are talking about industry and manufacturing. This is chapter 11. Okay, so chapter 11, key issue one is going to focus on the Industrial Revolution in regards to what it was and what it did, and then how it diffused or began to spread across Europe and to other areas of the world as well. So essentially, what we're looking at is we're going to talk about what the Industrial Revolution is, what it consisted of, and then we're going to talk about the industrial regions that were formed as a result of the Industrial Revolution. So it's kind of the beginning evolution of industry, essentially, is what we're looking at. The Industrial Revolution, I already mentioned it a couple times in just those few sentences. The Industrial Revolution was a period of history in which many improvements were made to make people's lives better. So it was a period of history in which many improvements were made, or in which many advancements were made to make people's lives better. The Industrial Revolution began, and you don't need to write this down because I'll be showing you some maps, but it began actually kind of in the mid to late 18th century. So that'd be in your mid to late 1700s, where we saw, again, things were being done. Okay, we saw many improvements, many advancements being made to make people's lives better. Okay, especially in the areas of politics, economics, and society. So I want you to understand that the Industrial Revolution wasn't just about inventions, making things less expensive to make, making our lives more manageable. But the Industrial Revolution kind of it had a much bigger influence or a bigger effect than just simply that area. I want to make sure that in parentheses, after you define the Industrial Revolution, please put that it really transformed and made it better in the areas of politics, economics, and society. And hopefully we can touch upon that, because essentially what we're talking about is the Industrial Revolution, nutshell version, you guys, is going to increase the standard of living throughout the world. And that's very, very important as well. So the Industrial Revolution, where we saw these advancements, improvements being made to make people's lives better, more efficient, easier, whatever it is you want to say, it goes beyond that. It actually increases the standard of living throughout the areas that go through the Industrial Revolution, especially in the areas of politics, economics, and society. Great Britain, this is the place of origin where the Industrial Revolution began. So this is the origin of where the Industrial Revolution began. This is Great Britain. It's going to diffuse to the rest of Europe and North America. And again, you can just go refer to your text here real quickly. Again, on page 395, you can take a look and you can see where it's going to begin in this area, you guys, almost in the early 1800s. Again, where you're going to see the railroads are going to open up. You're going to see the transportation of these products. Eventually, they're going to copy that same idea right here into other areas as well. So when we're talking about this, we'll talk about it more and more. When we talk about transportation, is going to allow these goods and products to be transferred across areas at a much faster rate, so people are going to get more exposed to it. They're going to want more of them. Then they're going to eventually want to develop them themselves. So the beginning place of the Industrial Revolution, you guys, is actually going to be Great Britain, and that's going to diffuse to the rest of Europe and even North America as well. What the Industrial Revolution did is it replaced something called the cottage industry. The cottage industry, for lack of a better term, was simply home-based manufacturing. This is how goods were produced before the Industrial Revolution. So any products that were made or assembled or put together, they were done in the home, you guys, and then sold outside of the home or brought to market to be sold. That concept of factory and large-scale production wasn't around at this time. And what they found out is that more and more people were requesting these various goods or products to be made, and they couldn't keep up with it in the home. And so they had to change. They had to adapt. So this is where the Industrial Revolution is going to kick in. And so it replaced that cotton industry, where basically is just home-based manufacturing. The steam engine allowed for this to occur, okay? The steam engine is probably going to be the first major invention, you guys, or the single most important invention that led to other industries or led to the Industrial Revolution to take off. So the steam engine is going to be the first major invention, that led to the advent of the first industries of the world. That's what your book says. In other words, what they're trying to tell you is the steam engine is going to be the first major invention that allowed for mass production of products, you guys. So it allowed for the Industrial Revolution to occur in the first place. The inventor of the first steam engine was a man by the name of James Watt. Okay? And he's going to be kind of like the father of the Industrial Revolution because of what his machine is able to do, and it's able to come up with that concept of factory. It's going to come up with that concept of mass production, which is big time characteristics of the Industrial Revolution. Now, I told you that the steam engine is going to lead to some of the first industries of the world. Here are going to be, and they do this on 395 as well, going into 396. They're going to list and talk about each one of these industries in the book. So when we talk about iron, you guys, again, the steam engine allowed for iron to be made at a much faster rate than ever before, a much faster, more efficient rate than ever before. So next to iron, again, you can put down the steam engine led for the production of iron-related products to be made at a much more efficient or faster rate than ever before. When we talk about, and so we're going to be able to see more and more iron-based tools being developed in these areas of the Industrial Revolution, and these tools are going to then be spread outward as well, and more people are going to want to get their hands on them, so they're going to come up with different ways in which they can develop their own iron-made products. Coal. Coal is going to, it was during this time period, we mentioned this in the last chapter on development, that coal is going to replace wood as the #1 energy source. It's during this time period. So coal, all you need to put down for that is it replaces wood or lumber as the #1 energy source during the Industrial Revolution. Okay, coal is very important for the production of iron, steel, transportation, dealing with the steam engines of boats, and especially in the railroad industry with trains, which we talked about before already. So again, coal is going to be a major energy source during the Industrial Revolution. Therefore, the mining of coal is going to take off that much more so during the Industrial Revolution. Transportation kind of goes hand in hand with what we just said. Okay, they're constantly looking for ways to improve. So next to transportation, we saw that improvements were being made for the faster distribution of goods throughout the world. Okay, so the faster distribution of products throughout the world. So the transportation industry is going to have to, it's going to have to develop. It's going to have to evolve, you guys, because there was a need to get these products out to different parts of the world at a much faster rate than ever before. Two ways in which they did that we've already talked about. We could talk about up and down along the river, you guys. Again, would be one method of transportation of people and products. Well, just looking at the transportation of products, railways and canals were eventually replaced the river systems. Okay, so again, a couple things you want to put down next to the river. Shouldn't surprise you that many of the first factories were produced on and along the river. There's a couple different reasons for that. Site and situation and key issues too we'll talk about. It allowed for faster transportation of the products. If you have your goods being made right along the river, you could easily get them out. Plus the river served as a source of power as well. So next to river, simply put down source of power and transportation for the factories of the Industrial Revolution. Railways and canals. We talk about railways, guys. They eventually replaced the river systems. Okay, allowed for factories to be further and further away from the rivers or from a body of water. So railways and canals, you guys are going to eventually, slowly but surely, they're going to replace the river systems, which allowed for factories to be built further and further away from larger bodies of water. The textile industry, this was the first major successful industry of the Industrial Revolution. So this is kind of like the first product, the first major product that benefited during the Industrial Revolution. Guys that were along, and again, more and more people, when you talk about textile, if you're not knowing of that, it deals with fabrics, it deals with clothing, things like that. Richard Arkwright is going to be the person that really gets it going. He created an invention known as the spinning frame, and it was utilized in some of the very first factories of the world. So when we talk about the first factories of the world, many of these first factories, you guys, I'd like to say all of them, that's each. Many of the first factories were textile factories or textile industries, you guys. Why? Because Richard Arkwright created something called the spinning frame. That spinning frame was a machine that greatly increased the amount of manufactured textiles that could be produced in a shorter period of time. So the spinning frame, and he's going to have adaptations to that. Later on, we'll have the spinning jenny, for example. But the spinning frame is going to allow for a greater amount of production of textiles to be made, and therefore they can disperse them in greater amounts throughout the world. So the spinning frame was very, very important for the textile industry in that it allowed for the mass production of textiles in a short period of time. The spinning jenny is going to take it a step further. It's basically an adaptation of the spinning frame. So it's an invention or an adaptation that picked up an even greater pace of the production of textiles. Sorry about the stutter there. So the spinning jenny is going to be an adaptation or an improvement to the spinning frame that allowed textiles to be even produced at a much more faster rate. Okay, so again, in a shorter rate of time. Now, factories. We talked about them. I guess I never defined it yet. I probably should. Factories are buildings that are designed to increase the efficiency and the amount of production. So when we talk about factories, yes, we do know that they're separate buildings where production takes place. All right. If you want to write that down, you can, where there's separate buildings where production takes place. But really, the importance of factories is it replaced the cottage industry because it allowed for, as I've been mentioning, a greater amount products to be made in a shorter period of time. So factories, because of the space that it provides, because of the number of workers that you could put in there, it allowed for, again, just a more efficient system that allowed for more products to be made in a shorter period of time. So again, that's the concept of factory. Chemicals, okay? Again, we're going to see the advent of the chemical industry because it's going to allow for the bleaching and dyeing of certain cloths and fabrics. So now we're not going to just have one generic type of fabric or one generic type of cloth anymore. Because of the advent of chemicals, we're going to see, well, first of all, different textures could be formed, but more importantly, we're going to see a greater variety in colors and whatnot. So again, that's going to increase the amount of textiles throughout the world due to the fact that they could give you a more diverse product than just a plain Jane type of fabric. Food processing was another area that really took off during this time. If you think about it, I've been concentrating on factories. You had a building. I've been concentrating on inventions that allowed for faster production. Well, because you're able to produce at a faster rate with these inventions, there was a need for more and more workers. So we saw a lot of things taking off as a result of the Industrial Revolution here, you guys. The food processing industry takes care of itself because of what I mentioned with a lot of workers, you guys. They basically started canning food, okay, which allowed for factory workers and other non-farm laborers to acquire their food and nutrition within the city. So food processing, where we're going to start seeing the canned food industry take off at this time to mainly feed the industrial workers who were working in the factories trying to produce whatever it was they were making. So a lot of different industries are going to take off as a result of in the early periods of the Industrial Revolution. Now, the primary focus of this section 1 is going to be the industrial regions of the world. These are the three primary regions of industry, all right? So these are going to be the first three primaries or the first three areas of industry seen in the world, you guys, seen in world history. So the first three major areas of industry or first three major regions of industry, that's what we're referring to when we talk about the industrial regions of the world. In fact, if you want to put this in parentheses, 3/4. When the industrial regions were developed, you guys, during their heyday of the Industrial Revolution, these three areas of Europe, North America, and parts of Asia are going to produce over 75% of all products being made in the world. So you get an idea that these are your industrial regions. If you take a look at page 396, again, beginning with Europe right here, scrolling down, taking a look right here, you can see Europe's industrial regions right here. And we're going to talk about some of these. Some of these I'll just have listed, you guys. Some of them you can look up in your book here because I'm trying to keep the podcast somewhat at a decent amount of time. But when we talk about Europe, again, page 396 basically is a map, you guys, that really outlines the major areas of industry within the continent. So again, when we're talking about Europe, there's going to be highlighted regions, you guys, of industry throughout the continent. Starting with the United Kingdom, okay? Again, we mentioned that the Great Britain was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. So when we look at the United Kingdom, it really dominated the industrial world early on, especially in those areas of textile and steel. So the United Kingdom, you could quote, was kind of the a leader of industry, okay, was the initial leader of industry that dominated in the production of textile and steel. All right, and that's what you can put down there. Today, what you see in the United Kingdom is there's a greater emphasis on high-tech industries and the investments in other parts of the world, just because, again, you're going to see that they lack the resources and the space within the United Kingdom, this small island nation right here, pretty much you guys that we're looking at. So they're going to expand outwards. But today, the United Kingdom focuses on high-tech industries and the investments that they have in industries in other parts of the world. So there's British industries that exist in other parts of the world, which they're basically doing the same thing, but just not in the United Kingdom. But early on, the United Kingdom was the front runner. It really did dominate the area. The Rhine River Valley. Okay, taking a look at the Rhine River Valley right here. Tough to say there. I'll circle it on your map right here. What you want to put down for that, you guys, is this was the largest area or largest concentrated area of steel manufacturing in the world at one time. Still is up there today. So again, largest manufacturer of iron and steel, I guess, because we started with iron-related products. So this is the largest concentrated area of iron and steel. Largest concentrated area of iron and steel. That's your Rhine River Valley. There's a, if you can see right here, there's an important port city. It's kind of hard to see, but it's called Rotterdam. It's also in your notes. This is the largest port city. This was at one time, it was the largest port city in the world. It's still the largest port city in Europe today because, again, you can see its location. It follows all the way up the Rhine River Valley. Products are being made. They drop it off at Rotterdam, and then Rotterdam is able to basically export those products to wherever they need to go. So this is the largest port city. At one time, it was the largest port city in the world, you guys, and it's found at the mouth of the Rhine River, so it shouldn't surprise you there. We also had the Mid-Rhine, which is the most centrally located industrial area within Europe. These are some other ones that we're looking at right here, and again, you can just kind of fill them out as we go. The Po Basin, we had a lot of workers in hydroelectric power. I'm just trying to give you their uniqueness right here, and you can go back and read on them because they're listed clearly in your book right there. Po Basin, again, is we had a lot of workers in hydroelectric power dominating this region. Again, textiles being at the forefront of mass goods being produced along the Po Basin. The northeastern part of Spain, this was Europe's fastest growing manufacturing area during the 20th century. Still is a major industrial center today, but when we got to the 20th century, to a little bit more modern times of the early to mid 1900s, this was the fastest growing manufacturing area. So essentially what I keep trying to refer to here now, you guys, is talking about how we have these pockets here exploding of industrial regions throughout the continent right there. So that's what we're really looking at. Moscow, you can put down, is Russia's oldest industrial region. It's been there for some time, you guys. It really helped transform Russia into the industrial developed country that it is today. So next to Moscow, this is Russia's oldest industrial region. And again, we're just looking at we're looking at the industrial regions, and then we're looking at the diffusion of industry throughout each one of these specific regions. That's what we're looking at. St. Petersburg is Russia's largest port city that specializes in shipbuilding. So this is Russia's largest port city that specializes in shipbuilding. If you take a look right here at the map as we go through that, you have St. Petersburg up there. Again, very important because it's right there on the coast, you guys, and it's able to ship products to wherever it needs to go. Also, there's quite a few railroads that will also extend into this area that will go east as well. But when we think of St. Petersburg, we think of products being made. Shouldn't surprise you that shipbuilding is a major industry there because they need the ships, you guys, to get out to the waters and then begin exporting their products wherever they may go. One of the problems right here, though, you guys, is that they need icebreakers up here by St. Petersburg. In this area, guys, of the North Sea, they're going to need icebreakers. These are specially designed ships to break up the ice so the ships can pass through. So again, referring back to your notes right here, when we talk about St. Petersburg, kind of an interesting thing right there is that they have the ships there. They ship a lot of products there. It's open year-round. The reason why it's open year-round is because of the icebreakers. These are specially designed ships that basically break up the ice to keep the port city open, to keep the ports open. The Urals, talking about this mountain region, separation point between Europe and Asia. It's kind of like in that Eurasia region. It's the primary boundary between Europe and Asia. This is on the European side. It's considered to be part of Europe. The European region, known for a lot of minerals and resources. So again, trying to highlight different things. You know, the United Kingdom was at the forefront. The Rhine River Valley, you had this huge concentration of iron and steel. When we talk about the Mid-Rhine, you guys, very centrally located, a really good place where they could really distribute products fairly evenly because of its location. Po Basin we talked about, where it was unique because of the use of hydroelectric power in that region, and the use of so many people, such a large percentage of the people living there connected to the labor industry. Northeastern Spain, we began to see that diffusion kicking in as it became a major manufacturing area around the turn of the 20th century. Moscow, again, helped transform Russia into the industrial power that it is today. St. Petersburg allowed for the shipping of products, you guys, by keeping that port open year-round through the wonderful idea of developing these icebreakers, these types of ships to break up the ice to keep ships and to keep products moving. The Urals, which we just got done talking about, minerals and resources. It provided for the minerals and resources throughout a large part of Europe. The Volga is going to be, again, a major river system, but more importantly, it's going to have a high percentage of oil and natural gas is going to be discovered there. So everything that you need, you guys, to produce goods and to effectively really be a contributing part or member of the Industrial Revolution is going to be found in these parts of Europe. Now, moving on, okay, again, Donetsk is going to be the region known for its large supply of coal. It's what you can put down in regards to that. So again, you guys looking at Donetsk right there is going to be large supply of coal. Silesia is going to be a fastest growing industrial city. Again, experiencing growing pains at this point in time. So Silesia is going to be a city that grew so fast industrially and benefited for certain groups of people, but sometimes it grew too fast for its own good. And that's one thing you need to understand, that not everybody benefited from the Industrial Revolution. A large percentage of people did, but in some cases, you know, guys, workers were taken advantage of, paid pennies on the dollar, worked extremely long hours, child labor was involved. So it wasn't a perfect setting, you guys, with low pay, safety hazards, child labor, long hours, no workman's comp to go with people who get injured while on the job. So Silesia is one of those examples where it developed into an up-and-coming industrial city, but it paid a little bit of a price for it. So that's just something I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. If you didn't think it was a perfect utopia during the times of the Industrial Revolution. North America, a little bit shorter, you guys, from the next two, because again, Europe, we're looking at that huge diffusion of, again, taking a look at this map. It does a very, very good job of showing the various regions, you guys, the industrial districts within the region of Europe. When we look at North America now, this was the most industrial region in the New World, if you want to say it that way. New England. Leading cotton and textile producer for most of the 19th century, and that shouldn't surprise you, based on, for those many of you that have had American history not too long ago. So when we talk about New England, it was a major cotton and textile producer for most of the 19th century, you guys. Cotton was the number one cash crop. It was the number one export for many years, you guys, within the United States. It was created in the South, but then it was sent up to the northern part of the country, of the present-day United States. And again, then what happened, you guys, is they would take that cotton and make various products out of that. The Mid-Atlantic region, okay, this was the largest industrial market in the United States. So when we talk about the largest industrial market, we were talking about a large amount of people located in this region. A couple of reasons why. One, this is where industry was being done. And again, they were going to keep their industry in this region because it was heavily populated, so they could get their products in the hands of people at a much faster rate. That's the Mid-Atlantic region. The Mohawk Valley capitalized on that mass amount of hydroelectric power. So again, mainly because of Niagara Falls. So again, you're seeing the spread of industry for a variety of reasons. New England, again, you guys, easy to ship out the cotton and textiles. Mid-Atlantic had a large population, so industries began to form there to get workers and also to have their products closer to future consumers. The Mohawk Valley is going to become an industrial site within the North American region, you guys, because of the use of hydroelectric power. When you think of the Mohawk Valley, think of Niagara Falls, for example. Pittsburgh and Erie, who we'll talk about later on with steel production. They're kind of a historical landmarks for the steel industry. Not so many steel industries located there today, you guys, even though their football team is called the Steelers. We'll talk more about that later. The Western Great Lakes, again, a great center of transportation. It was an easy transportation network, especially for the people of the Midwest. Southern California, this was the largest U.S. producer of clothing and textile products. And then we had southeastern Ontario, okay, going outside of the United States right here. Largely the most important industrial area, to the Canadian people. Even today, it's probably the most important industrial center or region or site for the people of Canada. East Asia, they're going to come along a little bit later, you guys. The most industrial regions of Asia is in East Asia. Shouldn't surprise you because you have Japan and you have China, of course. When we talk about Japan, please put down Tokyo and Nagasaki, allowed them to become an industrial developed country in the world. So again, the industrial cities of Tokyo and Nagasaki allowed them to become a major industrial developed country of the world for Japan. Even though Japan was limited in space, they were limited in resources, you guys, they did become one of the most industrial, powerful countries. When I was a kid, our number one economic rival was actually Japan. Today, it's, when I say our economic rival, I'm talking about people living in the United States. It was Japan. Today, it is China. China, of course, shouldn't surprise you, is the world's largest producer of consumer goods, you guys. A couple reasons for that. So China is the world's largest producer of consumer goods. Big reason for that. And when I was a kid, everything said made in Hong Kong, and we'll refer to that here in a second. A couple reasons why they produce more goods than anybody else. One is they have a lot of workers there. Okay, I didn't even put that reason down, but those workers are low-cost labor. Okay, it's the reason why so many products are produced in China. Many other countries of the world, I talked about investments being made by the United States, also have investments in China, where they have the products being made overseas because of the lower cost labor. And again, if labor costs are down, selling products at the same time, what happens is there's a greater difference between your revenue and your cost, leads to a higher profit, you guys. So low cost labor is going to be important. It's the reason why so many products, one of the many reasons for why so many products are being made in China. One of the primary reasons, why so many products are made in China. SEZ, Special Economic Zones, that's what it stands for. These are areas of China, you guys. Kind of an interesting thing here. They're areas of China that practice capitalism within a communist country, okay? So they're areas of China that practice capitalism, you guys, even though they're a communist country. So you have these pockets of capitalism that exist within China. And the reason why they exist is because of, well, Hong Kong's the major reason. In 1990, back then, like I told you before, when I was a kid, when your parents were a kid, almost everything said made in Hong Kong. Again, a lot of resources in China, you guys. A lot of low-cost labor in China. The people that lived there, though, they were under British control until 1997. And it was the number one economic city in the world. Well, China gets it, and they say, you've heard that phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, that's exactly what China does. They decide to leave it alone and just say, okay, we're going to keep things as is. It's obviously successful. It's a major economic opportunity for us to develop ourselves. We're going to keep that economically. We're going to keep that more like a capitalistic system than a communist system, you guys. And so they allow capitalism to exist there. And then they have this light bulb moment because Hong Kong starts producing this mass amount of money. And so then they began to say, we're going to take many of our major industrial cities throughout China, places like Nanjing, Beijing, you guys, you can see on page 397, almost all those major cities on the East Coast are going to become what we call special economic zones, where they're going to be run more like a capitalistic than a communist system. South Korea, finishing up with East Asia right there, you guys. This is again, when we look at South Korea, I put Port City by accident in my notes. I meant to just simply say that its many ports has allowed it to be a leading exporter of products throughout the world. So it has a lot of successful port cities that allows it to be a major exporter within the world. Again, a little longer than I thought. But again, you looked at what is the Industrial Revolution? How did it diffuse, you guys? Where did it all begin? And then how did those ideas begin to diffuse to different areas? And then once it reached those different regions, what was going on within those regions? So hopefully that's the three things that you're able to target or pull away from key issue number one in regards to the Industrial Revolution and the industrial regions that were associated with that revolution. With that, I'm signing out. We got a big 2 days coming up talking about site and situation factors in industry. Have a great day.